All right, so OpenAI made their big Monday announcement just a few minutes ago. I watched it live, and now let me tell you about it. Essentially, they released Her. You remember that movie, Her, with Joaquin Phoenix?
Well, you seem like a person, but you're just a voice in a computer.
I can understand how the limited perspective of an unartificial mind would perceive it that way.
It was a movie about artificial intelligence that was so smart and so good and really personal. And the main character, without giving too much away, built a really personal relationship with AI. And that's really what it felt like today. And so let's go over all the announcements together. Let's watch it together, and I'm going to comment on it. So let's get into it.
Today I'm going to talk about three things. That's it. We will start with why it's so important to us to have a product that we can make freely available and broadly available to everyone.
All right, so you can already see what they're going to be talking about here. They're going to be talking about the mission. I'm going to skip over that. It is basically making artificial general intelligence and its value broadly applicable. Now, whether you agree with their approach or not, that is their mission. And next, they launched a desktop app and a web UI update. So let's skip over to that. But the main part of the presentation is GPT-4o. And that's the letter O, not the number O. And I'm going to tell you all about that as we watch this video together. All right, so let's take a look at all the changes that the UI has gone through, and let's look at the desktop app.
And today, we're also bringing the desktop app to ChatGPT because we want you to be able to use it wherever you are. As you can see, it's easy, it's simple, it integrates very, very easily in your workflow. Along with it, we have also refreshed the UI. We know that these models get more and more complex, but we want the experience of interaction to actually become more natural.
So they said they refreshed the UI, but to be honest, it looks exactly the same to me. And I'm usually pretty good about noticing small changes. I don't really even see what's different about it just looking at it.
Easy, and for you not to focus on the UI at all, but just focus on the collaboration with ChatGPT. And now the big news. Today, we are releasing our newest flagship model. This is GPT-4o.
All right, so she announces that they are announcing GPT-4o, their new flagship model. So it's not GPT-5. We did not get GPT-5 today. There were a lot of rumors that that was going to happen today, but they still are cooking. And so we have GPT-4o, which is an iteration on GPT-4. And it's really unique in some ways, but what they've done with it, and they described it as magical, it's pretty darn cool and really gets us to a big step forward towards that vision of that future of Her.
GPT-4o provides GPT-4 level intelligence, but it is much faster and it improves on its capabilities across text, vision, and audio. For the past couple of years, we've been very focused on improving the intelligence of these models.
So I'm going to pause it there for a second. So the O in GPT-4o is Omni model, and that is what they're calling it now. It's basically text, vision, and voice all in one, but I'll let Mira talk about it.
This is the first time that we are really making a huge step forward when it comes to the ease of use. And this is incredibly important because we're looking at the future of interaction between ourselves and the machines. And we think that GPT-4o is really shifting that paradigm into the future of collaboration, where this interaction becomes much more natural and far, far easier.
Yeah, so I'm really glad they're actually making this push, and I suspect there's going to be a lot of open source projects in the next few weeks coming out that do exactly this. But the gist is, previously, interacting with models was almost entirely text-based, which is fine, but it was very much, I type out a prompt and then I wait, I get the response back. And then I type out another one, I wait and get the response back. Sometimes you could even do voice transcription and then you submit it and then you wait and get the response back. And it felt very turn-based and very unnatural, to be honest. And that was the big thing that they were pushing for, and the big thing that they announced today was making it feel much more natural. And I really like this. And this is on the heels of the rumored OpenAI Apple deal closing, I think just yesterday, where Siri is now going to be powered, at least in part, by ChatGPT. And now that is making a lot more sense because of all of the things that they're about to show us.
Making this happen is actually quite complex because when we interact with one another, there's a lot of stuff that we take for granted. You know, the ease of our dialogue when we interrupt one another, the background noises, the multiple voices in a conversation, or, you know, understanding the tone of voice. All of these things are actually quite complex for these models. And until now, with voice mode, we had 3 models that come together to deliver this experience. We have transcription, intelligence, and then text-to-speech. All comes together in orchestration to deliver voice mode.
So that's really interesting. She basically said that to deliver this experience previously, they had 3 separate models. Text-to-speech, so being able to actually have the voice come out of ChatGPT, the intelligence model, which is kind of just the core model, and voice transcription, which took your voice and transcribed it into text to the model.
This also brings a lot of latency to the experience, and it really breaks that immersion in the collaboration with ChatGPT. But now, with GPT-4o, this all happens natively. GPT-4o reasons across voice, text, and vision. And with these incredible efficiencies, it also allows us to bring the GPT-4 class intelligence to our free users. This is something that...
All right, so this is big news. GPT-4 intelligence, this model to the free users. Sam Altman was just on the All In podcast where he talked about wanting to bring all of the capabilities of GPT-4 to their free users. And literally just a week ago, he was saying they were figuring it out or they couldn't figure it out, but it looks like he actually had it figured out and he just didn't want to announce it yet, which is understandable. So I'm getting the sense that if Sam Altman says something like, hey, we're working on this, we haven't figured it out yet, it's actually probably imminent. All right, so here are some important stats. GPT-4o is 2 times faster, and within the API, it's 50% cheaper, 5 times higher rate limits compared to GPT-4 Turbo. And the 5 times higher rate limits is, I believe, only for paid users, because she mentions, although I'm not going to play it, she mentions that with paid users, you get 5 times more capacity than free users. So there's still a big benefit to being a paid user. And of course, that assumes you believe in their approach to closed source models. All right. Here's where it gets really interesting. They are going to show off some demos, and it's subtle, but incredibly impressive and a big leap in just the way you interact with AI. It does feel so much more natural. It does feel like her, and let's watch it together. It's pretty incredible. And by the way, these are 2 of the leading engineers who worked on this project.
Hi, I'm Barrett.
Hey, I'm Mark. So one of the key capabilities we're really excited to share with you today is real-time conversational speech. Let's just get a demo fired up. So I'm taking out a phone. If you are wondering about this wire, it's so we have consistent internet. And if you see, there's this little icon on the bottom right of the ChatGPT app, and this will open up GPT-4o's audio capabilities. Hey, ChatGPT, I'm Mark. How are you?
Oh, Mark. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?
Hey, so I'm on stage right now. I'm doing a live demo, and frankly, I'm feeling a little bit nervous.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there. Immediately when you hear ChatGPT respond, it is in near real time, and you can tell that she has a lot of emotion in her voice. It is not simply just reading text as you're used to with typical TTS models. There is actually a lot of personality in the voice already, and you're going to see a lot more of that as we go through the rest of these demos. And quickly before we do that, OpenAI released this blog post just a few days ago introducing the model spec where they detail how they believe AI should interact with humans. And it's actually pretty good. A lot of it I agree with, and I'm going to make a separate video all about this blog post because I think it's really telling as to what we can expect from the future of AI, not just from OpenAI, but I think this is going to be a template for many AI companies to use. All right, let's continue. So I believe his name is Mike here, is saying that he's doing a presentation and he's very nervous.
Can you help me calm my nerves a little bit?
Oh, you're doing a live demo right now? That's awesome. Just take a deep breath. And remember, you're the expert here.
I like that suggestion. Let me try a couple deep breaths. Can you give me feedback on my breaths? Okay, here.
All right. I want you to notice something. That was really subtle what just happened, but I want you to take a look. He interrupted ChatGPT. Currently, it's not really possible to continue a conversation and interrupt like that. Usually you have to stop it and then restate it, but he simply just interrupted and she stopped talking. And I'm calling it a she, and that's weird. I'm not sure what to do with this yet. I'll figure that part out. But let me show you that again just in case you missed it.
And remember, you're the expert here.
I like that suggestion. Let me try a couple deep breaths. Can you give me feedback on my breaths? Okay, here I go.
Whoa, slow down a bit there. Mark, you're not a vacuum cleaner. Breathe in for a count of 4.
Okay,
All right, so a couple things. One, a lot of personality in the voice of ChatGPT. And I bet you're going to be able to dial in that personality to exactly how you want it to behave with you. And again, I'm reminded of exactly Her, the movie Her. By the way, if you haven't seen that movie, it is a fantastic movie and almost a roadmap into what the future of AI will look like. And then one other thing I want to point out is there seems to be some audio issue with the output, and you're going to hear a couple parts where it gets glitchy or a little bit laggy sounding or just missing audio, and they're not reacting at all to it, which makes me think that it's only the output of what we're hearing on the live stream.
let me try again. So I'm gonna breathe in deeply and then breathe
And then
out.
for 4, and then exhale slowly.
Okay, I'll try again. Breathing in and breathe out.
That's it. How do you feel?
I feel a lot better. Thank you so much.
So Mark, you've been working on these capabilities for a while now. Can you tell us a bit how it's different from voice mode?
Right, so if you've used our voice mode experience before, you'll notice a couple key differences. First, you can now interrupt the model. You don't have to wait for it to finish your turn before you can start speaking, and you can just butt in whenever you want.
So that's huge. That alone makes it feel so much more natural. When you're in conversation, you don't always wait for the other person to finish their thought or their sentence, patiently, and then give it a few seconds and then respond. You kind of jump in right at the tail end sometimes. Sometimes you interrupt altogether. And so now it does feel so much more natural to have this assistant, this AI assistant, where you can just butt in and you can ask it questions, or you can interrupt and say, no, that's not what I meant. So that's a really cool feature. And I'll also mention the entire demo seems to be much more focused on voice mode. And so I think they're going really heavy into voice mode because text is great, but voice is the most natural way to interact with other humans and now artificial intelligence. And that also reminds me again of their deal with Siri. Imagine this as Siri, except with the Siri example, imagine if Siri can control your phone and have access to everything, your email, your calendar, all the files that you've ever downloaded. That's a really compelling version of Siri, something that obviously we haven't seen to date. Now, I'm still very disappointed that Apple is not either building their own model or using an open source model, but more on that in another video.
Model is real-time responsiveness. So that means that you don't have this awkward 2 to 3 second lag before you wait for the model to give a response. And finally, the model picks up on emotion, right? When I was breathing super hard there, it could tell, and it knew, hey, you might want to calm down a little bit. You're kind of running a little bit too fast.
So there was a demo of a company a few weeks ago. I'm actually forgetting the name. If I remember it, I'll drop it in the description below. But basically, it was exactly this. It was AI that could read your emotion from your voice and reply back with emotion in its voice. And so OpenAI now has that, which is really cool. I hope that other company goes open source, or at least releases their technology so that open source providers can use this. And again, the way that open source has been working with AI over the last year, I wouldn't be surprised if we have this kind of functionality, this kind of emotional intelligence in our artificial intelligence open source models within the next few weeks. So here's hoping to that. Let's get that, Mark Zuckerberg, please.
It really has that capability across the board to perceive your emotion. Not only that, though, the model is able to generate voice in a variety of different emotive styles. And it really has a wide dynamic range. So I'm going to fire up another demo for that. Hey, ChatGPT, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. How about you?
Pretty good.
What's up?
So my friend Barrett here, he's been having trouble sleeping lately. And I want you to tell him a bedtime story about robots and love.
Oh, a bedtime story about robots and love? I got you covered. Gather round, Barrett. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte. Byte was a curious robot, always
You
exploring.
started this story, but I want a little bit more emotion in your voice, a little bit more drama.
Okay, so he interrupted and asked ChatGPT to change its emotion in its voice. And again, I think the interrupting feature seems small, but I think it's going to be really powerful in making the interactions feel so much more natural.
Got it. Let's add some drama. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named
No,
Byte.
no, ChatGPT. I really want maximal emotion, like maximal expressiveness, much more than you were doing before.
Understood. Let's amplify the drama. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte. Byte
Actually, can
was
you do this in a robotic voice now?
initiating dramatic robotic voice. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte. Byte was a curious robot.
So imagine this. I mean, I know I keep mentioning her, but this is exactly that. You are essentially saying to this AI, here's how I want you to behave. Here's the emotion in your voice that I want. Here's how I want you to tell me things. And I think that's going to be awesome. I think this is a huge leap in interactivity with artificial intelligence that we're seeing here. And again, I'm very hopeful that open source models are going to start incorporating this very soon. And I think that's the pattern that we're going to see going forward, where these frontier models, these frontier companies release something, everybody sees what's possible, and then open source releases it a few weeks, few months later.
Robot, always exploring new
So I'm
circuits.
seeing, Barrett here, calm down a little bit. Can you end the story, but do it in a singing voice?
And so Byte found another robot friend, and they lived circuitly ever after.
Thank you so much.
I definitely feel a lot more relaxed.
You've just seen the voice capabilities, but we also want to show you the vision capabilities, as the model can also see the whole world around us.
All right, they're about to show us some vision capabilities, which we've seen this stuff already, but I think combined with the interactivity with ChatGPT, now I'm describing as her, it's quite impressive. Although really the most impressive parts we've already seen in the last demo, but let's watch this.
Hello there. How's it going?
It's going really well. Today, I'd really like your help solving a math problem.
I'm all ears. What math problem can I help you tackle today?
So I'm going to write down a linear equation on a sheet of paper, and I'll show you. And then I'd love your help working me through it. But importantly, don't tell me the solution. Just help give me hints along the way.
Got it. Oh. Okay, I see it.
No, I didn't show you yet. Just give me help along the way. 1 second.
Whoops. I got too excited.
That alone was really cool. So there was an obvious mistake. The phone was flat on the table, and ChatGPT says, oh, I see it, but she can't see it because the camera wasn't pointed at anything. And he corrected it. He said, oh, actually, I haven't shown it to you yet. Let me write it out, and then I'll show it to you. And she says, oh, I got too excited. The personality there is just very impressive to me. And now we're going to see vision mode.
So, ChatGPT, what equation did I write down there?
Ah, I see it now. You wrote down 3x plus 1 equals 4.
Yep,
Let's work-
exactly. So what's the first step I should take to try to...
So again, he interrupted her. And it's kind of weird and inspiring and exciting to hear AI go, ah, it's such a human thing to do. And now AI will be doing that. And I think that is the big breakthrough that OpenAI had here. It was making AI sound more human and interact in a more human way.
The first step is to get all the terms with x on one side and the constants on the other side. So what do you think we should do with that plus 1?
Okay, I'm gonna try to subtract 1 from both sides, and then I'll see what I get.
All right, so I'm gonna skip over this a little bit. He basically goes back and forth with ChatGPT, and without ChatGPT actually telling him exactly what to do, she kind of guides him along the way. It's pretty cool. And if you haven't seen the full video, I did a super cut of it, which I included this demo in. All right, now we're about to see something which I think is really cool. It kind of shows off more of what we've seen, but the reaction from ChatGPT is just super impressive. Let's watch.
Anything else you'd like to tackle today?
So ChatGPT, I really love that you taught the value of math to my friend Mark. And I wrote one last thing I'd love if you could take a look at.
Of course. I'd love to see what you wrote. Show it to me whenever you're ready.
Okay, so this is what I wrote down. What do you see?
I see. I love ChatGPT. That's so sweet of you.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate all the help.
All right. So again, that noise is just so human, but not AI. So they programmed it to really behave as though it is a human. And I think that is the big picture here. They have injected a tremendous amount of emotion and emotional intelligence into ChatGPT, and that's what we're seeing. So they basically took all of the input methods, combined them into one, and made it real time. So it's much, much faster, and that is a key unlock to making it feel much more human and much more of a natural interaction with AI. All right, in this next demo, what we're gonna see is the desktop version of ChatGPT reading from the screen and being able to tell you different things about what it's seeing. And we've seen a lot of this before. Basically, they're gonna copy the text from this code and ChatGPT is going to describe what it does. So let's watch.
Okay, and to give a bit of background on what's going on, so here we have a computer, and on the screen we have some code, and then the ChatGPT voice app is on the right. So ChatGPT will be able to hear me, but it can't see anything on the screen. So I'm gonna highlight the code, Command C it, and then that will send it to ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT.
Hey there. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going really well. I was wondering if you could help me with a coding problem today.
Of course. I'd love to help you out. What's the coding problem you're dealing with?
Okay, I'm gonna share with you some code. 1 second.
Sure thing. Take your time.
Copies the code, pasted it in, or it automatically got it from the copy or from the clipboard, I should say. And then now she's reading back or just explaining what that code does. Okay, I'm gonna skip ahead a bit. Okay, so they generated a graph from that code and now they're gonna ask ChatGPT questions about it. This is all stuff we've seen before through Code Interpreter, and it's still impressive to see, but it's the same stuff except with the addition of being able to actually have a natural conversation around it. All right, in this next example, somebody asked, hey, does it do live translation really well? And so what they're going to show off is translation between Mira Murati, the CTO on the left, speaking Italian, and Mike on the right, speaking English, and it translating it back and forth. But what I think is really cool is when he asked ChatGPT to do it, she responds in a kind of quirky, cool way. So let's take a look.
I have a friend here who only speaks Italian, and I only speak English. And every time you hear English, I want you to translate it to Italian. And if you hear Italian, I want you to translate it back to English. Is that good?
Perfetto.
Okay, so I think it's cool that ChatGPT says perfecto. And I don't know, it's a cool quirk. It kind of shows off a personality. And I don't know, I think this is really the future of what a personal AI assistant is going to look like. So let me just briefly show you the translation back and forth.
Mark, io mi chiedo se le balene potessero parlare, cosa ci direbbero?
Mike, she wonders if whales could talk, what would they tell us?
They might ask, how do we solve linear equations?
Potrebbero chiederci come risolviamo le equazioni lineari.
Sicuramente sì.
Certainly, yes.
All right, so cool little back and forth with translation. Now, another viewer is asking, can ChatGPT know what your emotions are just by looking at your face? So let's take a look. And something interesting happens during this part of the demo where you'll see, and I'll explain it after.
Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna show you a selfie of what I look like, and then I'd like you to try to see what emotions I'm feeling based on how I'm looking.
Sounds like a fun challenge. Go ahead and show me that selfie, and I'll put my emotional detective hat on.
Okay, so here's me. So what kind of emotions do you think I'm feeling?
It seems like I'm looking at a picture of a wooden surface.
Oh, you know what? That was
what?
the thing I sent you before. Don't worry, I'm not actually a table. Okay, so take another look.
That makes more sense. Ah, there we go. It looks like you're feeling pretty happy and cheerful.
All right, so what just happened there? So right when this person took out the phone and started recording, the first thing is it was showing the back of the camera, which means it was looking down at the table. So for a half second, it was showing the table, and I'll show you that. So right here, you can see right when they turned on vision mode, it showed the table before he flipped the camera around, and it was showing his face right there. So immediately, the first thing ChatGPT saw was the table, and she says, I think I'm looking at a table. And then he says, oh, no, wait, I'm not a table. Forget that. Now look. And then she says, oh, yeah, okay, that makes more sense. And again, that whole very natural interaction is just so impressive to me. All right, and the last thing I'm going to show you is Mira Murati's hint as to what's coming next. So one thing is, where's Sam Altman? He is not in this presentation whatsoever. And I think that's telling. Maybe it's not the biggest thing they have cooking right now, and Sam is waiting for that to get out on stage. But nonetheless, Mira Murati gives a hint as to what's coming next with the quote-unquote next big thing. Let's watch.
So soon, we'll be updating you on our progress towards the next big thing. And before we wrap up, I just want to thank the incredible OpenAI team.
All right, so that was it. I thought this was really cool. It wasn't some huge splashy announcement where they announced a brand new model or some kind of new tech, but it was very subtle, but I think very important nonetheless. And the ability for more people to use AI in a very natural way is extremely important. Now, question and answering is important, but the real value of AI, I've been really thinking about this a lot lately. The real value is going to be when your personal assistant can actually accomplish tasks on your behalf. Just being able to ask questions and get answers about things is great, but it's not that perfect use case. And this is especially true since I've been testing the Meta AI sunglasses. It turns out I don't really have a lot of questions throughout the day that I need answered, maybe a handful. But what I do want is the ability to give my agents, my personal assistants, tasks that they go out and accomplish for me while I'm doing something else. That is my dream scenario. That is my perfect use case. And I think we're pretty close to having that happen, but we'll see. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.